"Call whoever you want," the millionaire shouted to the poor elderly woman, until he heard who was on the line. But let's go back to where it all began. Because before that phone call changed everything, there was a room full of powerful people who made one very costly mistake. And that mistake had a name. Her name was Patricia Cole. The boardroom was the kind of room that made ordinary people feel small. Everyone in that room carried themselves like they belonged there. Everyone except one woman. She sat near the far end of the table. No laptop. No briefcase. No expensive suit. She wore a simple dress, slightly faded at the collar. Her handbag was the kind you'd see at a neighborhood market, not a boardroom. She sat with her hands folded quietly in her lap, watching everything with calm, steady eyes. Nobody greeted her. Nobody asked her name. And nobody looked at her twice. Marcus Blake arrived 20 minutes late. He didn't apologize. Men like Marcus Blake did not apologize for being late. They made the room wait and called it presence. He was 44 years old. He moved through the room like he owned it, because in his mind, in about 2 hours, he actually would. The agenda was simple. Blake Industries was acquiring Coleridge & Partners, a mid-sized company that had been operating quietly for over 3 decades. The founder had passed away 2 years ago. The company had been running on legacy momentum ever since. Marcus had been circling it for months. Today was the day he would close the deal. He took his seat at the head of the table, and smiled the smile of a man who had already won. His lead attorney leaned close and whispered, "All parties are present." Marcus scanned the room with satisfaction. His eyes moved from face to face. Then his eyes landed on the old woman. He frowned slightly. He leaned toward his assistant. "Who is that woman at the end of the table?" His assistant glanced over and shrugged quietly. I am not sure, sir. She was here when we arrived." Marcus stared at her for a moment longer. She didn't notice him staring. Or if she did, she didn't care. That bothered him more than he could explain. The meeting began. Documents circulated. Numbers were presented. Everything moved exactly the way Marcus had planned. Until his attorney reached the shareholder verification section. "Before we proceed to final signatures," the attorney announced, "we need to confirm full shareholder representation in this room." A board member across the table shifted uncomfortably. "There may be one outstanding matter." Marcus looked up sharply. "What matter?" The board member hesitated. And in that pause, the old woman at the end of the table spoke for the very first time. Her voice was soft. Not weak. Soft. "The outstanding matter," Patricia Cole said calmly, "is me." The room went very quiet. Marcus Blake looked at her slowly. Then he did something that would haunt him for the rest of his professional life. He laughed. "I'm sorry, sweetheart," he said, loud enough for the whole table to hear. "But I don't know who let you in here or what you think this meeting is about." He gestured casually toward the door. "This is a corporate acquisition. These are serious people handling serious business." He picked up his pen and looked back at his documents. "So if you feel lost, you're welcome to call whoever you want. Your family. A taxi driver. Whoever." He chuckled again. Several people at the table looked away in discomfort. Patricia Cole did not move. She did not frown. She did not raise her voice. She simply reached into her worn market handbag and slowly took out her phone. She placed the call without blinking. And the moment the person on the other end picked up, the color slowly drained from Marcus Blake's face. The boardroom had been loud with confidence just moments ago. Now it was holding its breath. Patricia Cole held the phone to her ear with the same steady calm she had carried into the room. No shaking hands. No nervous glances. Just a woman making a phone call the way you do when you have nothing to hide and everything to prove. "Yes," she said quietly into the phone. "Bring them now, please. All of them. The original shareholder certificates, the founding trust documents, and the transfer records from 1993. She paused, listening. Yes. Floor 42. I'll be here. She ended the call and placed her phone face down on the table. Then she folded her hands again. And waited. Marcus Blake had stopped smiling. Not dramatically. Not all at once. The way a fire goes out when the air is slowly taken from the room. Gradually. Quietly. Completely. He looked at his lead attorney. His attorney looked at the board member across the table. The board member looked at his hands. Nobody looked at Marcus. That was the first sign. When powerful men stop making eye contact with you, it is never a good sign. What documents is she referring to? Marcus asked. His voice was still controlled. Still confident. But something underneath it had shifted. The board member cleared his throat. Sir, there is a matter we perhaps should have addressed before today's meeting. What matter? Silence stretched across the table like a held breath. And then the boardroom doors opened. A young legal officer walked in carrying a sealed brown envelope. He scanned the room once, walked directly to Patricia Cole, and placed it in front of her without a word. She opened it slowly. She removed the documents, reviewed them briefly, and then slid them to the center of the table. Coleridge and Partners was founded by my late husband, Patricia said simply. He built it over 31 years. When he passed, controlling ownership transferred to me. 63% of total shares. The number landed like a stone dropped into still water. 63%. Marcus Blake owned nothing in this room. He had never owned anything in this room. Every signature he had collected, every negotiation he had won, every number he had moved around this table for 4 months, had been built on a foundation that was never his to build on. The acquisition was invalid. The deal was dead. And the woman he had laughed at, waved away, and called sweetheart in front of 20 witnesses was the single most powerful person in the building. Marcus opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. For the first time in a very long career of filling rooms with his voice, Marcus Blake had nothing to say. Patricia Cole gathered her documents with quiet hands. She looked at the board members one by one, then addressed the room with the same soft, certain voice she had carried in with her. This company will not be sold. It will be protected. That is what my husband built it for, and that is what it will remain. She stood up, picked up her worn market handbag, and walked toward the door. She paused once, briefly, without turning around. Appearances, she said quietly, have never once told the whole truth. And she walked out. The room stayed silent long after the door closed behind her. Because some lessons don't need to be shouted. The ones that change you never are. Never measure a person's power by the price of their clothes. What someone carries on the inside has never once shown up on the outside. Arrogance is not strength. It is just noise that hasn't been corrected yet. Quiet people are not weak people. They are simply people who have learned that the right moment to speak is worth waiting for. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel so you never miss our next story. Thank you very much for watching.